What's going on, everybody? It's your boy D from DNC Digital back with another episode of DNC Radio. Today, I am joined by two gentlemen, Michael Koske and Greg French. Michael Koske has been everywhere, 22 episodes of The Walking Dead. He's been on The Crazies, Necessary Roughness. Mr. Greg French has also been on Walking Dead, along with doing some performing, and the gentleman has served our country by serving in the Air Force, so we applaud him. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. And actually,
no problem. And Greg, welcome to the show, sir.
Totally cut off Mike, but that's okay.
That's what I'm saying. This is my first time, so I hope you guys are gentle. I have never been joined by two gentlemen at once. So since you guys are friends, you guys are buddies. I mean, I can only hope that we all have a good time together, guys.
I gotta say, I love the Wild Stallions shirt, man.
Oh, thank you. I haven't seen have you guys seen the remake? I haven't seen the remake.
Yeah. It was okay.
that was it. Just the
first one was, you can't beat the first one, you know.
No, yeah, that was what is it? God gave rock and roll to you. That was great. But yeah, I caught this shirt. I want to say probably at Target or something. And I mean, why wouldn't you pick it up? My girlfriend is just a little younger than me, so she's not as well versed in the Wild Stallions as you would want to. And she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "We're gonna have a sit down. We're gonna talk at home, and I'm going to show you these two movies that have to be part of your life." Yeah. So like I said, Mr. French, we thank you for serving our country. You are still in the Air Force, 32 years in the Air Force, but before that, you look at that, you see,
I'm here right now.
Before that, you were doing some local theater in high school, and before you graduated. So let me ask you, what is the difference between the audience reaction when it's immediate when you're on stage, and now when you're doing film, it's kind of like you got to wait a few months before you see what kind of response it gets?
Yeah, they are two completely different beasts. Like you, I know with live theater, I was the master of ceremonies. The last thing I did was master of ceremonies at the Dixie Stampede, which is Dolly Parton dinner theater show. And so it's, you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse, and then you have one shot to get it right, or one shot per night to get it right, or if you're doing 2 shows, 3 shows, whatever. But you can't just stop and reset and redo the whole thing. And then when I get into being on camera, it was a whole different thing, because you don't really rehearse as much. You rehearse it as you're doing it, and you record your rehearsals. And sometimes those are better than the actual takes that you're not rehearsing on. But you always have a chance to do it a little bit better, do it differently. And coming from a director's point of view, it's a lot easier to get the performance that you want out of your actors, because you can shoot it different ways. Okay, try it this way, look this way when you say that, because I recently become a director, so I've been directing a few films, and it's good to be able to give them instant feedback, and then they can do that, and then in the editing room you decide which take you like.
Sounds good.
As far as audience reaction, it sucks waiting.
I bet.
Yeah, if you deliver the joke, deliver the line perfectly on stage, and everybody's clapping, that's awesome. When you do it on camera, all right, do it again. All right, do it again. And then 6 months later, you may get to see it.
One thing you did do, you served in Desert Storm. So now my question is, when you come back, is there a difficult transition to go back into civilian life? I remember speaking to somebody who was in Iraq for Iraqi freedom. He came back and he kind of told me, he goes, "I feel so like less important because I'm not playing a part of something big." Did you ever have those feelings coming back home after Desert Storm?
Yeah, I was actually in Korea during Desert Storm. They sent us over there because I guess people didn't realize that North Korea was starting to act up. So I missed the desert. Going over there, I didn't miss it. I mean, I didn't get to go, basically. But yeah, anytime that I'm deployed or doing any kind of military stuff, coming back to the family, it takes a couple of days or so to decompress and get out of that mode. And all the lifestyle where I work while I'm doing military duty is a lot different than my home, and it's hard to transition from one to the other.
Now, you guys aren't only buddies, but a cool coincidence. Michael, you grew up in Goldsboro, North Carolina, home of the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Now, when you're living in a city with an Air Force base and a bunch of different people from different walks of life are being stationed there, did it kind of teach you at an early age, kind of to learn about different cultures and different types of people and work around, different personalities?
Oh, absolutely. And I was born there, but right after that, we moved to Guam. And
Okay.
then from Guam to Michigan and Spain and then here to Georgia. But
Oh, so you got a firsthand lesson with all that then.
yeah, and I mean, when I lived overseas, I was all over Germany and all kinds of other places too. But yeah, I mean, you learn, make friends with anybody you can because you could be moving in a couple of years and you have to start all over again. So I mean, I didn't care what size, shape, color you were. I mean, if you were
Mhm.
a goofy person like me, we got along great. So,
That's awesome. And so Goldsboro, North Carolina is not only known for that. Oh, but by the way, Michael, I met you through Anthony Johnson,
yeah.
talented musician, and cigar and pipe extraordinaire. So he told me if I ever went to Georgia, he would take me to Jimmy's Hot Dogs. Would you also take me there, or is there somewhere else to take me to get an authentic Georgian, meal?
Wow. I mean, I'm like completely across the state from him, so I
Mhm.
don't know about Jimmy's hot dogs. But man, where would I take you here? There was a place that I loved here that was it was a Mexican restaurant that just closed. I mean, it got to the point where I walked in there and they knew exactly what I wanted. I didn't have to even say a word. But
Nice.
they just recently closed, so now I'm heartbroken for them. But of course, I mean, you're all in Texas, so you probably have Buc-ee's all over.
Ah, we do have Buc-ee's. That's like that thing was like it's like a gas station mall. The first time
Yeah,
I went there, I'm like, man, this thing they have everything. It's insane.
yeah. When it first opened here, I was there like every day. I was going and getting something new, and my friends would make fun of me because they would like call and ask me where I was. I'm like, I'm at Buc-ee's.
So Greg, if my notes are correct, you studied marine science in
Yeah.
college. So what is your favorite oceanic fact that can surprise
Oh,
most of
geez.
us?
I don't even know. There's so many of them.
I found myself going deep into the YouTube rabbit hole, and I don't know
I
how I
see what
ended
you
up
did
there,
there.
but I'm sorry.
I see what you did there. Going deep, talking ocean stuff.
Oh, but I'm pumped.
Yeah,
Oh, that was good. That's
right.
good.
You said
Michael,
it.
Michael has that has that good dad joke you did in an interview. The whole two zombies eating the clown. I love using that joke.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But no, yeah, I found myself going down the YouTube rabbit hole, and I don't know how I ended up with these giant squid and giant prawns, and they're getting king crabs, and they're taking hunting dogs to like pheasant farms to kill the rats. I don't know what was one of the more
What does
interesting.
it have to do with the ocean?
I have no idea. We're on animals, Greg. Okay, yeah, it's my show,
Ocean pheasants.
my show. But what were the some of the more interesting things that you found out, as you were studying through college?
Oh God. Well, I was when I graduated, I was a marine geocartographer, which I make maps of the bottom of the ocean. We did that
Wow,
all up and down the coast and all over the world doing that. So mine was more on the geology, uh, geophysics part of oceanography, but
got
there
it.
was still a lot of interesting biological things too.
Yeah,
If
to
you
really
if
learn
you
breath, you had to hold his breath while you're underwater mapping the place.
Yeah, and the paper was always getting wet under there.
I'm surprised the ink didn't like the ink stayed on the paper.
That's probably the most important thing I learned. Pencil doesn't run. Always take a pencil.
But if you were making maps of the bottom of the earth, that's interesting as hell. Did you see Atlantis? Did you see Titanic and all that stuff? All the wreckage?
Yeah, that's where I got the shirt.
Oh,
Uh,
they have a gift shop.
Oh,
I was actually a lifeguard in
I
Atlantis.
was waiting for that. Oh,
Like
I saw the shirt earlier too. I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
God damn. So in Goldsboro, we also have I'm surprised with this one because pickles are huge in South Texas. There's a North Carolina Pickle Festival. So my question to you, Mr. Koske, what goes on your burger?
my burger. Oh, I mean, I like all kinds of stuff. I used to be a chef for years, and I mean, I loved all kinds of burgers. We had this one burger that we called it the Club 21 burger. I think mainly because the chef at the country club I worked at stole that recipe from the Club 21 he used to work at. But when it was like just like a burger, and it had like herb butter kind of mixed in with the meat, and then had like almost like a relish with like really thinly sliced tomatoes and onions and like a lemon vinaigrette. Oh my god, it was so good.
How about you, Mr. French?
I like all burgers, but interesting burger story.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to do a convention up in northern
Oh,
New York. Yeah, and they one of the restaurants that's sponsoring it asked us to design a burger just for the like a zombie burger
Okay.
or just for the con, and it sounds pretty fabulous. So we wanted it to be like gross and gooey, but amazingly tasty. So we got like some avocado in there
Hmm.
or guacamole. Haven't decided which. I don't know which one they're going to use, but that'll give it the green kind of pastiness. Also a fried egg to give it the yellow.
Nice. Nice. Get that runny.
Yeah, some other things, but instead of a bun, we're gonna have it battered and deep fried. That way, it's like one flesh-looking thing. You bite into it, and all this goo is gonna go all over you.
My mouth just watered.
Right?
That sounds amazing. So
Yeah.
like artery clogging.
well,
Goodness, you know?
we also they wanted it ideas for zombie stuff, and I suggested to kind of be like fleshy to mix some like chunks.
The bacon. That's right. Yeah, the bacon in there.
Yeah, bacon.
They're like nice soft bacon to make it all,
Yeah.
stretchy
So
and
that when
chunky.
you bite into it, like the flesh is all hanging and stuff. Yeah, that's right.
How classy. That's nice.
I hope
I
they
like that
actually
stuff.
do it. We'll find out next month.
Yeah, we're looking
So-
for.
So Greg, you have Coastal Independent Films where you guys release short films, and most recently you released Tickets on July 4th. So you're a writer and a director. When you're a writer and you have these characters that you haven't casted yet, is it difficult for you to kind of write in their voices with their personalities, or are you kind of getting somebody to fit that character rather than somebody bring it to life?
It depends on the film. The first one that I wrote was called Thirst of the Dead and involves zombies and beer. It's amazing. I suggest you check it out.
I definitely want to get that. Sounds amazing.
That was
Sounds
playing on
great.
Shorts TV all over the world right now. But that one I wrote specifically for my actor friends who are also in the film company with me. And so I had them in mind when I was writing it. So it wasn't really easy because I know all their personalities. The Vegetarian is one that I wrote just, and that one's also on playing on Shorts TV. That one we didn't have anybody in our group that fit the characters, and so I wrote it to be. I had in mind what I wanted the characters to be like and to look like and everything. And so we put out a casting call. We had a whole bunch of auditions come in. We narrowed it down to 3 or 4, and then we just kept watching their auditions over and over and over. And finally, it came to the ones like she is definitely the vegetarian, and he is definitely the boyfriend. They're on their first date, and it's kind of a I don't know. They're on their first date, and he finds out that she's a vegetarian, but he's taking her to an all meat restaurant, and it's hilarious. It's pretty.
So here, Mr. Koske, I feel like a lot of things happen from happenstance. Obviously, there's always like you're in the right place at the right time, and you had a buddy who worked at GameStop, and you were just visiting him and just deciding to say what's up and hanging out for a second. So you were kind of approached for a conversation, which ended up getting you a job on The Crazies, which is one of my favorite movies. It's kind of like a dark horse when it comes to horror movies because forget about it, but when somebody mentions it, I'm like, holy crap, that was so good. Was acting something that you have always thought about, or was it because of that conversation that you're like, wow, like somebody's approaching me to do a movie?
Well, actually, like Greg, I acted in high school, so
Gotcha.
I did a lot of high school acting, and then I didn't really do anything like after high school. But yeah, like so I was just hanging out in a GameStop with a buddy of mine, and the props guy came in. We're working on The Crazies, looking for some little Nintendos for a scene in the movie. And I mean, he hung out for an hour just talking with us, goofing off, and he invited a bunch of us to kind of join in on the movie. And it started out, I was just going to be just a random extra in the background, but we kind of got upgraded to the soldiers that are in the movie. So I actually even had a line, but I had a gas mask on, so you can't even tell that it was me. So.
Oh, is that right? Okay. So you were one of the soldiers that were going into the barn?
No, there was about 8 of us that were playing about 40 different soldiers. So they just kept moving us all over the place. So we get them off the bus, we bring them into the tents, and for the quarantine tents, we bring them out of the tents, we put them on the buses. I mean, we were everywhere. So pretty much every soldier you saw me.
Here's a question for the both of you. Greg, now that you're doing writing and directing and producing your own films, and Greg, you've been in like Michael, you've been in countless episodes of Walking Dead, along with a bunch of other stuff that you can check on your page. what's one thing that people focus on too much in the acting world, and what's one thing that they don't focus on enough?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. It's that's a really good, tough question. I'm trying to
Thank
think
you.
of-
These are not the typical questions we get at conventions.
Yeah, no, we weren't
That's
ready.
what I was telling you guys when we were
Yeah.
sending emails. I'm like, I don't want to just be thrown in that pile of forgettable interviewers.
One thing that people focus too much on is, okay, so coming from a director's point of view,
Sure.
memorizing the lines instead of saying what the lines, saying the words instead of conveying their meaning.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the people who send in auditions, and I've done this myself on auditions. I'm just so worried about getting the words right that the meanings of what's behind the words isn't coming through. And so lately I've been kind of not focusing on the exact words, but getting the general feeling of what the director's looking for. That's probably one thing that I would think people focus too much on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Words
I
don't
can,
matter.
I can agree with that. I mean, I've been guilty of it as well, and I know everybody else that has been guilty of it as well. So yeah,
When you guys are confident of your abilities and your acting abilities, and you know that you can take care of a scene, is it still nerve-wracking when you're in front of directors and producers and those people at the table that are kind of judging you from this one performance that, in retrospect, you might just be having a bad day? I mean, that Super Bowl with Peyton Manning where he had like negative 13 yards throughout the entire, it's not a reflection of his entire body of work. Does that ever cross your mind when you guys are in auditions?
oh, absolutely, every single time.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, auditions are one thing, but after you get the job, and then you're there on set, it can be nerve wracking depending on how big the program is.
I mean, it's a little more relaxed when you're finally there and you know you got it and you're getting to know everybody and you're like us, we goof off quite a bit, so it's a little more relaxed. And
Greg, you have some work as a stunt performer also, is that correct?
Yes.
So does that give you a different perspective when you guys are putting a scene together, especially now that you're writing your own films? And does that give you some type of advantage when people find out, oh, this guy's a stunt performer too? Has there ever been a situation where they're like, okay, we need you to do this also?
I've gotten hired because I'm a stunt performer. Yeah. They know I can take the falls, or whatever, or they need, like on the independent films that I do before we started Coastal Independent Films. I got hired on a couple because one of the writers knew that I was a stunt performer. So I'd either he'd write the parts for me, or he'd write parts that he knew I could teach the people that were doing it how to stunt, or somebody that could stunt double before. So that definitely has helped my career a bit. Now my daughter wants to do it.
Michael, I saw one post where you were kind of having a reflective moment and you decided to kind of embrace the past. Maybe that was probably my interpretation of it. What's been one of your biggest takeaways when you look back at past mistakes when you're trying to move forward?
oh well, I guess the biggest thing is to not dwell on my past mistakes. I'm like my worst critic, like everybody else. I mean, I'll beat myself down for anything that I messed up. I mean, those are the littlest things I tend to dwell on. So I think I have to learn a little bit better to get past those things and realize it's not as bad as what I thought it was.
So he's been
Yeah,
stalking us on Facebook.
Go ahead.
Sounds like he's been stalking us on Facebook.
Facebook and Instagram.
I don't know about stalking. I think doing research, ample research for an interview is the correct term.
Sure.
How about you, Greg? Do you ever get outside your head and sometimes even me when I finish an interview, I'm like, oh, I missed this question, or damn it, I could have done better, but it's getting received well. Do you kind of not believe your friends and family and supporters, or is that like a relief when you hear that from them after you beat yourself up?
Yeah, it's if I like this, okay, Tickets, the film that we just put out on July 4th. That one, I didn't write that one, but I directed it, and it was my first time editing. And I don't really know what I'm doing with editing, and so like I'm looking at all the mistakes when I watch this film. There's a lot of mistakes in there. I could have done better. I just didn't know how to do it. But but everybody else it's got really good reviews, and everybody's like, this is the funniest film that I've seen, and you guys are getting better. Each one gets better and better, and they say that about all of them. And it has a bunch of views from a bunch of people that I don't know, so I know they're not just trying to make me feel good. Yeah, I tend to see the mistakes rather than the successes, but I don't let it bother me. I try not to let it bother me. It bothers everybody, whether they say it does or not.
No, yeah, definitely. So how did you guys meet? I'm assuming it was on a Walking Dead set. Is that how
It was not.
Oh, it was not. Excuse me.
No, we knew
My stalking did not work in this question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we knew each other before Walking Dead was even a thing.
Yeah.
We're both in the 501st. We dress up like stormtroopers for charity. He's in the Georgia Garrison. I'm in Carolina, and I was hosting an event up here in Charleston, and nobody could make it from Carolina. So 501st is a worldwide thing, right? And each state has its own garrison or whatever. And so I threw it out there to the Georgia Garrison, and a couple people said, "Yeah, we'll be up." And it was Michael and Hal, and I think some other people. So they actually saved the event. We met each other there and had a good time.
Yeah.
And then it's just rock and roll history after that.
And then we ran into each other. Go ahead.
I'll say it was actually funny because when we were working on The Walking Dead, we kind of had this like I think I know you sort of thing, and then we finally figured out like, oh yeah, you were at that baseball event. So.
That's awesome. You talk about the Denver Comic-Con where you kind of were taken back by the amount of people that were there listening to you tell stories, Michael. And are you guys ready to just get back into cons, or now because of everything going on, is it more a little more apprehension?
I mean, I'm ready. I mean, it's funny because I think I kind of feed off of it sometimes, but
Sure.
I mean, I'm kind of a loner person by myself, but I like to be. It's weird because I like to be by myself, but then most of the time I like to be around people, and I mean I like to laugh and have a good time. And then, like I said, at the Denver Comic-Con, it was me and one of the assistant directors that were doing a panel, and we walked in the room, and it was a massive like conference like ballroom, and it was packed full. They had to turn people away. There was so many people. I mean, I was actually like in tears. I was like, holy crap, all these people are here to hear me tell stories. And I mean, I had them rolling the entire time. They were laughing and just having a good time. And I mean, it was amazing. And I'll never forget that feeling.
And that was back during season 3?
It was like 3 or 4, yeah.
Back when Walking Dead was the biggest show in the world.
Yeah.
What are your favorite seasons? I mean, I'm looking back now. Damn. That show was hot between like 2 and 6. I want to say like
that was the golden years of Walking Dead for sure.
Yeah, that was when I worked between 2 and 6. So.
I want to say that Clear is probably one of my favorite episodes, only because you see how good Lenny James is, because he was such a different character in that first episode, and then just a completely like different person. And I just felt so bad for him when he was talking about his kid and his wife and how crazy he went. And then like when he comes back in Alexandria, I remember telling my friends, I'm like, this guy's only been showing up for 3 episodes and a complete character arc. But let's put your actual work to the side. What have been some of your favorite seasons of The Walking Dead?
I think I agree with you. I think it was like 2 through 6 were interesting. I mean 2 dragged a little bit at the beginning when
They were on the farm and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they're on the farm. And a lot of that was because AMC didn't give us the budget that.
Oh.
Because it was funny because they got the budget for the first season. It did good. Started filming the second season, and AMC wasn't too sure about it. I even heard rumors from some of the higher ups on set that AMC was like, "Well, can't the walker just be heard and not seen?" And they're all like, "No, I mean they're zombies." That's why, like in the episode with the well walker, he was the only walker because they didn't give us the budget. We were already way over budget. But then once it premiered and it broke all kinds of records, AMC was just like, here, have all this money.
In retrospect, it did allow them to do that that slow burn type of
Yeah.
storytelling. And you know what? When it comes to now in the streaming world, and you guys may agree or not, but when you do the slow burn type of storytelling, because everything is digested in like 6, 7 episodes at once, I feel like it's easier to do that. Unless, when they're releasing things week by week, it's kind of difficult when you have a slow episode. But when people are binge watching, it's so much easier to just, if that makes any sense.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
It definitely has changed since binge watching is a more popular thing now. Like I hate waiting a week between any of the shows I watch. Mandalorian is killing me every week that it's not on.
Yeah, me too. That's a lot killing me right now. I gotta wait a
What
week.
what has that done for the business model now that streaming services are out there? Because I mean, it has to have changed. I mean, now it's not like they're counting how many times I watched that episode. I mean, how does that work now?
Yeah, I know. I noticed that things are a lot quicker paced now. Everything. I mean, from a viewer standpoint, if you go back and watch something from just 10 years ago, it's really slow and it's hard to get into. If a show doesn't catch your attention within the first 10 minutes, you're not going to watch it more than likely.
Yeah, you're not gonna watch it, you're gonna trash it and move on to the next project. But
So what have been your claims to fame? I know you guys have worked on Walking Dead for some time, but there has to be one portrayal of a Walker that you're most proud of. Who is that for you, Greg?
That was the barbed wire to the face walker. That's the one where it's the prison had just blown up, and Daryl, everybody was separated, and Daryl was
Okay.
with the claimed gang. The ones where like that's the one. Just it's the episode that Daryl shoots the squirrel, and the other guy says claimed, and that's what
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
at the beginning of that episode, they're all sleeping in the woods, and I come up to attack them, and they have barbed wire around their campsite, and it rips my face off. So that was my biggest feature up to that point.
That's awesome. How about you, Michael?
I've been lucky enough that I've had quite a few. I mean, somehow I became like the Walker face for a while, so I was on all kinds of stuff. But I think one of my biggest ones was they did a tribute Walker, and they used me to do Flyboy from Dawn of the Dead. So, that was one. I mean, I came in, they had like they recreated his wardrobe, and they did his makeup or my makeup in the old style, doing zombie makeup, and I mean, it was crazy because they did a whole like photo shoot with me doing the poses as Flyboy from the actual old movie. And I mean, that night I thought it was great because they treated me like a rock star. I mean, I had my own trailer. There was a golf cart that was taking me to and from my trailer from set. They were calling me Mr. Koske, and then I mean, I was just living it up. And then like the next day I show back up on set. I'm standing around and they're like, well, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm waiting for my golf cart. Take me to my trailer. And they're like, no. Like, that was yesterday, buddy. Today, you're just back to being Michael. Go get your crap and let's go. I'm like,
Yesterday it was a ribeye, today's peanut butter and jelly.
exactly.
What's one of the more difficult things about getting your makeup applied?
Being there at 2:00 in the morning to sit there for 2 hours in the makeup chair.
I think
How about you, Greg? What was one of the things that you found the most difficult?
it's not so when people find out I'm a walker or was a walker or whatever, they always say, oh, that must be fun. There is really nothing fun about being a walker. Imagine the most uncomfortable that you've ever been in your life, and then you have to extend that for the 16-hour day, or more sometimes. I know, Michael, you were on set once for 20 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus,
and
doing
it's-
what?
It's in makeup, and it's Georgia all summer long. So we're in the Atlanta, Georgia heat. And if you ever notice, all the walkers wear long sleeves and long pants, so it's even hotter.
Yeah.
And then the makeup itches. You can't see out of the lenses. If you're unfortunate enough to have like a close up, you're gonna have the teeth in, the dental implants, and those are it's not very comfortable at all. But I mean, everybody's in the collective suck together. So those of us that keep coming back for it, we must like it for whatever reason.
Yeah, and sometimes if they're really unlucky few and you have a nice death scene and they want to pour that sticky blood all over you, so then you have to have that. Like the Flyboy scene, I was covered in blood and it was sticky, so I kept having to peel my shirt off my skin, and I was stuffing paper towels in there to keep the shirt from sticking to me. Or there have been times like you. I mean, the first couple of seasons I worked, I had to do stunts. I mean, I was taking falls. I was like, getting knocked over, shot with arrows, and I mean, like you said, I mean, people think like, oh, it must be great. I want to do it too, but they don't realize, we're getting the crap kicked out of us, and that the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, one of the episodes that both Greg and I are in, I think I it was when they're clearing out the prison in the very beginning of the third episode of, and coming out after Rick, and he cuts my head off, and one of the takes, he nailed me with the stunt machete. I mean, hit me clear on the side of the head, knocked me out.
Oh,
I mean, passed out on the ground and like in this giant puddle of water, and they kept filming, finished the scene, and everybody reset, and I'm still laying there on the ground. They came over, thought I was dead, I wasn't moving, and finally I came to, and I mean, so I mean, there's been quite a few. Another guy doing that same episode, I think it might have been Greg. Rick goes to stab the zombie and like hits him in the mouth, and so like I said, we're getting beat up all.
Yeah, every time you go there, you can plan on coming home bruised and
Yeah.
beat up real bad.
Yeah.
oh, what was some of? I mean, now that you're talking about Rick accidentally knocking you out, what was the? I mean, because not to expose anything, but I remember the DVD extra features and the panels that we see in the conversation is always the narrative is always there. That's a big family. But what was the dynamic like between the main actors and the walkers?
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, it's just like you see on the DVD. I know it sounds cheesy and hokey, like, oh, we're all just one big family. But when you show up there, they remember you. They welcome you. Like, oh yeah, we did this one together. There's times where like you're hanging out with the main actors. One time where I was behind one of the prison towers where they were filming the scene before ours, and so there was me and Norman and Merle. Me and me and Merle and Daryl were hanging out there, and there was one other walker with us, and they had the radio, and we're just kind of hanging out there talking, and they're saying things on the radio that were highly inappropriate and getting in trouble for that. But we're just hanging out, and when they see you and they recognize you or they remember you, it's like, oh yeah, and they'll give you big hugs and stuff. So it is really a family atmosphere there.
Yeah, especially for the ones like Greg and I that did it a lot, and I mean they got to the point where they would recognize us like in makeup, and so I mean sometimes they wouldn't recognize us out of makeup because they've seen us so much in makeup. But like Irony Singleton that played T-Dog, he would like look for me on set just to give hugs, and so I mean it's like you said, especially if it's like a smaller scene where there's not like hundreds of walkers, it's like us regulars, and you're sitting eating with the actors, and and they know your name. Like I said, it's actually like the TWD family, like that they always used a hashtag for.
I remember watching Talking Dead in the beginning seasons, and buying the DVD again, watching the featurettes, and knowing that Greg Nicotero was pretty much at that point only in charge of the makeup and those effects. Now he's bloomed into an executive producer and a showrunner and in charge of another spin-off show. Witnessing firsthand, what can you say about Greg Nicotero's work ethic?
When it was someone began, is that we said?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he was always on. I mean, I would see him like constantly working. I mean, he's had his hands in everything. He's making sure everything was right. I mean, he was doing makeup when I first started. I mean, he wasn't like, he didn't have just his crew doing it. He would be in there, but the whole time he's having a good time. He's goofing off with everybody.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I met him was my first day on set, and I didn't really know who he was because I just didn't know who he was. And so we were resetting the cameras or whatever, and I'm sitting there on the wall with a bunch of other walkers, and here's this guy sitting next to me. We're just having this conversation, like, I didn't know who he was. And then after he left, I was like, that was Greg Nicotero. I was like, oh, that's cool. Who's that? I mean, you're just another guy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now we're in I want to say like season 10 or 11, and it's definitely taken a life of its own. It has crazy fan base. What can you, because I remember when it came out, and I'm a big horror fan, and I was just like one of those maybe closed-minded, you can call, fans, that I was like, well, a whole show about zombies, like that's it? Like they're just gonna be there and you're not gonna, win the day and kill them? But then it turned into this amazing thing that I love, and I will always go back and watch until the day that I pass. What can you credit the longevity of Walking Dead to?
Yeah, you want to take this one or you want me to? I got an idea.
No, I mean, I think a lot of it is, people kind of sometimes picture themselves in the situations of like the survivors on the show. Like, what would I do if this were happened, and that sort of thing. And they like to be able to imagine, how they would, handle situations like that. And so, I mean, I think a lot of people look at that. I mean, there's so many people, especially around where I live, like, in Georgia, that have like their own like with their book out bags, or like zombie readiness stuff and stuff like that. So I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of preparing for this sort of thing anyway, so they like to imagine it.
Yeah, I think the biggest secret to, or the biggest, I don't know if it's a secret, the biggest reason for the show's longevity is that it's not a zombie show.
Yeah.
It's a show that happens to have zombies in it. It's the human interactions that make the show what it is. It's the writing and the interactions between the living people. The zombies are there. You know what they're after. They're just trying to eat you. But you don't know, like, when you come up on another human, what's their intentions.
Do you guys entertain the theory that if the series were following Negan this whole time, and then we meet Rick, that Rick would be the heel, Rick would be the bad guy?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars. It's the rebels are a bunch of terrorists.
Or same thing with Karate Kid.
Well, yeah.
Daniel's the bad guy. Johnny's just trying to save his girlfriend, and Daniel comes in and screws it all up. Yeah.
That is, I mean, to both your points, I do. When I was watching a lot, I did picture, like, fuck, like, what would I do? What would you do? Or what, like, maybe my best friend's not too light on his feet, like, or which one am I carrying? Like, is it my kid, or my girlfriend? Like, what the hell am I gonna do? And especially in that situation where you have multiple people that you need to protect, in the perspective of Rick, you just have you put yourself in charge of this big group of people, and I can definitely, I don't know if I would last, but I can definitely picture, like, what the hell am I going to do? And what can you guys, and you talked about Comic-Con, and Greg, I'm sure you've had interactions with fans. Like, what can you say about their fan base? If somebody were to ask you, describe that Walking Dead fan base, what can you say about them?
They are anxious to know more. Really great question. Now, usually it's the same 5 questions over and over all day, but they're so anxious to just be a part of the show. And when I first got into doing cons, and Michael was right there by my side when I started. He'd been doing it longer than me. I was like, why? Don't you feel weird doing this? Because basically we're just extras, and people want our autographs and stuff. And he said they just want a piece of the show, and you're a piece of the show. So luckily we're both friendly, and we can talk and entertain people and give them a piece of the show too. So yeah, they're amazing. Walking Dead fans are just diehards.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, some of the most fans I think I've ever seen for a show.
Craziest group of fans. One thing I did ask, because I got to meet Ross Marquand, and I had him on the channel also. Real cool guy, tall as hell. Didn't even know he was that tall.
really
But
tall.
something I forgot to ask on camera, and we were talking afterwards. As fans, we get emotionally invested in these characters, and they kill them off, or whatever the case may be, but they're not part of the show anymore, and it becomes a tough loss. Like, that was one. I mean, besides like wrestling, where my favorite wrestler gets beat up or something, but I think that was one of the first shows that I emotionally got invested with these characters. in your perspective, when you're in there, because it's obviously a different perspective, what was some of the more difficult departures from the cast for you guys?
Um,
So, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say T-Dog was a rough one for me. Irony was a close friend. We, had so many interactions on set with me trying to eat him and him getting away and stuff, and we just became. But when it came time for his death, I was actually in the makeup trailer, waiting for my turn for makeup. And over on the side of the makeup trailer was like a little kind of list of what they were going through, for that day. And at the very bottom, kind of written in pencil, it said T-Dog's head. And I kind of just read it, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, like, why does it say T-Dog's head? And Greg Nicotero said, well, that's it right there. So I get up and I turn this little bust around, and it's like T-Dog screaming. I'm like, no, what is this? And they're like, well, he gets bitten today. I'm like, no, he can't get bitten. They're like, it's not going to happen. And I literally ran out of the trailer.
Get my golf cart. I need to talk to everybody.
Yeah. Well, I went looking for him, and I was just like hugging him, like, no, this can't happen. And he's like, what's about? I said, I saw your head in the trailer. And he just hugged me, and just said, it'll be okay. But that was, I think, one of the most difficult departures I've had to personally deal with.
Yeah, it's odd being on the show because all the spoilers and you can't tell anybody. And I started season 3, so like everybody was all Herschel's death really affected a lot of people.
Oh, Jesus! Oh my God! Don't even talk about Herschel's death.
Right?
That was.
And so, and I was there. I was working that episode. I think you were too, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, we saw the whole thing happen, and then 6 months later, everybody's bringing it up, like, oh my God, Herschel's dead. So, and we're like, oh yeah, that did happen. Like, so being there and knowing what's going to happen, it affects you then, but then by the time it airs, it's already old news. So I guess really the only the last death that really affected me was Sophia, because I had no idea that she was going to come walking out of that barn the way she did.
The thing is, I was there the day they filmed that, so I knew the entire time. But like you said, you're there and you're feeling it, and then by the time it aired, I had forgotten. And then I was sitting down with a bunch of friends having a viewing party, and then she comes out of the barn. I was like, oh yeah, and my friend's like, what? You knew? Like, yeah, I was there. I'm in the barn, and they're like, holy crap! No, but yeah, that was a tough one too.
Yeah.
I want to agree that both of those were the roughest, along with Glenn, obviously, because that was probably the most built up death of that entire series.
So much though, you knew it was coming.
Yeah, well, they kept teasing us with under the dumpster, and then finally it happened.
Took his name credits for those episodes. Yeah.
I just like how Abraham was so defiant in his last seconds. He could just suck my nuts. Like, go for it. You're gonna kill me anyway. Just suck me off. Like, but Sophia was probably the first time in that series that I was just like, holy crap. And that's when you realize that it's the buildup, and they do make you care. And she wasn't even seen for half of that season because, she was always present. That was the part. Like, she was always present, and she was always talked about. And Daryl was this, like, you always wonder what the backstories were, especially with Daryl, because him and Merle's father, I'm assuming, put his hands on him, and he had the scars in the back, but he's a redeeming guy. But it's just an amazing, like, if you guys can sum up your time on The Walking Dead, what would you tell somebody?
One of the best years of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, The Walking Dead changed my life. I will admit. I met some of the most amazing people. I met with, I hate to say it's now my ex-wife, through another guy who was the walker on the show, and he introduced me to her. And I got to travel the world because of this show. I met amazing friends like Greg through the show. It's life-changing, honestly. Yeah.
And now you're on DNC Digital. It's full circle, right?
Yeah. It's just crazy that, like Greg said, like people want to hear what we have to say. They want to talk to us, and signing my autograph is still to this day blows my mind that people want me to sign stuff.
Or send them things in the mail, or oh, I found this picture of you. That's another thing, when you're walking around the store and you see your picture on a shirt, or somebody sends you a picture of a tattoo of you on them. It's like, or it's just There's some
Wow,
strange
what?
things out
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
I know of at least 12 tattoos of me on people.
Get
And
out of here. That's crazy.
it's crazy. I mean, I've had stalkers. I've had people show up at my house. I mean, I lived in a gated community before, and people were showing up at my house and leaving stuff on my porch, and it's life changing, good and bad, I guess. But yeah, it's
So Michael, after working on this show, you moved on and you did some work on Guardians of the Galaxy. That was a lot of like different kind of smoke and mirrors as Walking Dead. Did you go in there kind of already programmed for like makeup and stunts, and now you're doing CGI? Was that a difficult transition for you?
yeah. Well, it was actually I went in like expecting to be put in makeup. I mean, I wasn't even sure I was going to get the part because it started out there was like 16,000 people had submitted to be Ravagers in this movie, and then it got narrowed down to 100 people. So us 100 actually went to like a boot camp sort of thing where we kind of got to know each other. We learned how to work good together to kind of become this band of brothers that the Ravagers were, and then from that they cut us in half. And luckily I made that group. And then they started going and deciding who was going to be in makeup and who wasn't going to be in makeup. And it turns out I was one not in makeup. And at first I was like, man, everybody else from The Walking Dead's in makeup. Like, why aren't I in makeup? I wanted to be a cool alien. Then it dawned on me, like, well, now when people see this, they're going to see my face and I can say, hey, that's me. Because a lot of times when we're in zombie makeup or in alien makeup, some people don't really believe that it's you. But now with this, I was like, look, it's me, huh? And so you can see my face. So yeah, I mean, I was fully expecting to be hours and hours in makeup, and we still had a little bit because they kind of dirtied us up and added tattoos and stuff. But,
So what do you have coming up on a horizon, Michael, that you would maybe like to talk about? Or the floor is yours.
actually, this Saturday I go and I'm working on a movie called Senior Year with Rebel Wilson, and I'm actually going to be filming a scene in that. But it's funny because in my own private time, I ride a one wheel. I don't know if you know what a one wheel is. It's like the
I
big,
saw that, and I was going to touch on that, but I have terrible balance.
so I ride that. Well, actually, one of my friends tagged me in a post where they were looking for somebody that rode a one wheel for the scene in the movie, and I was like, screw it, I'll send it submit for it, and they ended up calling me asking me to send photos of the board and then me and everything, and I got picked to do that, and it kind of got delayed a little bit, but then like this last week I got the call like, hey, we're doing this scene on Saturday, can you do it? I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome. And Greg, for Coastal Independent Films, what's your next project? Is it still in its infancy, or are you guys setting up
Yeah,
production?
we started just before the pandemic. Actually, we started our first film came out Halloween of 2019. And we put out 6 films that year, and then some other smaller ones in between. But then when COVID hit, like Hollywood shut down, all the production shut down. We shut down ish. Since we're all kind of local and good friends anyway, we kind of would get together with like skeleton crews to do things. So instead of
Sure.
having like a whole bunch of extras, we had to set the cameras up to make it sound like there was extras in the background, but they weren't really there. We only had like 5 or 6 people on set. But now that things are starting to pick back up again, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of opportunities for us. But as far as Coastal Independent Films, our last one came out July 4th. We have another one coming out next week, I think, which is just it's not really one of our full films. This one is it's a one shot. So the whole movie is one camera moving through the film, through the whole film with no cuts and no retakes. It's all one shot.
How long does that take to set up? Not production wise, but I mean like everybody in the right spot, because they did that for Birdman, right? With Michael Keaton, they had a
Yeah,
famous one shot. Is that really, really difficult to set up?
it is so difficult. Josh is one of our guys who this was his idea, so we just let him go with it. And yeah, we had 2 full days of shooting, and then a full day of just choreography because he does the most of the film is done in mirrors, and like people show up and then you see him in the background and the camera turns and they're gone. He goes through closed windows with the camera. There's a lot of camera tricks that are all done all in one take, and it's just, I can't wait for everybody to see it. It's just amazing. I just hope people realize like what we're trying to do with the one shot. So hopefully they'll put some kind of disclaimer in there saying, hey, this was all shot with no, in one take with no cuts or whatever.
You know, touching on the pandemic, and you know, all of us who have just like, you know, people who have regular jobs, you know, they've had ways to work from home, kids doing school from home. When it comes to filming and production, completely shut down. And I have a friend, Lauren Collin, who does like red carpets and stuff. And for her, it was already hard, difficult because she's like, man, I can't, you know, we had to resort to these kinds of interviews, but those interviews for movies that were already done, like now production is shut down. How did it affect your mental health, and what did you do to snap out of it in the pandemic when you were so used to everything so quick, and you know, shooting here and an audition there and stuff coming out? How did you guys adapt to that?
Oh, you go first, Greg.
Okay. I did a whole bunch of military time last year. It was just that, you know, the military didn't shut down, but a lot of the guys weren't able to make it because they lived too far away and there was travel bans in effect. So since I, you know, where I do reserves is right here close to my house, I just did that for a lot of the time. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was actually delivering Uber Eats and Grubhub because people still needed to eat. So I was doing all right with that. And there was no traffic on the road, so I'm doing it all on my motorcycle, just driving from place to place, picking up things. It was a lot of fun.
Michael, you did Uber Eats on a one wheeler?
No, I actually just recently got the one wheel, but no, my pandemic story is not quite as fun as Greg's. Like right at the beginning of the pandemic, no, I ended up, unfortunately, my wife left, and so I was in a I'd say a suicidal funk for the first part of the pandemic, and I mean, I had a Etsy shop that me and some friends have, so I would go out and work in that, but no, it was rough one for me. I almost didn't make out of it, and I have to, you know, credit my youngest daughter, who's now 18, headed off to college. I mean, she was my rock through the whole thing. Made me make sure I got up, make sure I ate, make sure I did things, and I slowly got through it with help from her and some friends.
Well, I'm thankful that you did, man, because you're
Appreciate it.
definitely a cool guy, class act, and I definitely enjoyed this conversation. And you know, to parallel, you know, the relationship you have with your daughter, like I'm not with my daughter's mother either. And you know, my main focus was like her. Like, I hope she's okay, because having that in your head, mom and dad didn't work out. We were, you know, at least we worked together to make sure she was all right. But yeah, man, like kids can be so nurturing, like so like ahead of their time, and you're looking at them
Yeah.
like, yo, how old are you?
Yeah, this kid, she's the most mature kid I've ever seen. I mean, she's got her stuff together. I mean, throughout the pandemic and everything, she was still doing, you know, cross country and track. In fact, she broke her leg during one of the track or cross country meets, and still finished the race. I mean, she was favored to win. She's the county champion and the region champ and all that. So she pushed through that, and then her, you know, straight A's the entire time, honors, everything. So I mean, she worked her butt off, and you know, basically is putting herself through college now with scholarships and stuff. So
That's
I mean,
awesome, man. Congratulations, man. You look like you have a cool little kid down there.
yeah, for her to just be 18 and so mature, it just blows my mind.
Gentlemen, this was so much fun. Again, first time with two men. So I'm glad you
First,
guys hey, there's a first time for everything, and I am very
Yes.
comfortable with myself. I'm good. You guys are both handsome men and very successful. But I congratulate you both on everything that you've done. So you know, since we're still recording, I want you to take a look right here. This is my money maker. So
Yeah.
obviously I don't make a lot of money, but I got the beard, I got the, you know, the old 1920s stash. I'm gonna send you my reel.
okay.
Just pay for the plane ticket. I'll put myself in the hotel. I'll take care of my own food. Just put me in one of your movies, and I'm good.
I'm there with in one of your movies. I mean, I know he's tried to get me up there a few times.
Yeah. Hey, send it. I'll give it to the casting directors.
That sounds great. I always tell that to actors just to see what they say.
Yeah.
But hopefully maybe something can come out of it. But gentlemen, Michael, where can they find you on social media?
I've got Facebook, Michael Koske on Facebook. Instagram, I think is same thing. I think it might be like iZombie on Instagram, and I'm just plain, nothing fancy.
Nice. And Greg, where can they find you on social media?
Z-list actor Gregory French on Facebook. Z like zombies. 2 words. Z-list actor Gregory French, because that had to be my first name and last name. Because that's how I got around the Facebook. Oh my God! Now they're gonna hear this and they're gonna shut me down. And also on Coastal Independent Films Facebook page. I'm on there all the time.
I will say,
Awesome.
his Z-list actor page, he's kind of mean on that page. At least he's mean to
Yeah. So one of the things that conventions like is when they hear the stories about he and I whenever we're working together. I guess those stories are spreading now. And so now other conventions want to hire both of us, which is great because I love working with them. But we have some. We keep the conventions alive.
It's a fun back and forth dynamic sort of thing.
No, definitely. And
Not
they're
just
opening up
between us,
some
and the
they're opening
organizers.
up some conventions out here. So I'll definitely forward your information, because since you guys like to do all the conventions, they're just starting to open them up back here. So I know a couple of the guys that run them, so I'll definitely forward your information. But
That'd be great.
it's been so cool. It's been so cool to talk to you guys. This is D. You can find me at DNC Digital on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Everybody who has grown a long beard or a mustache or even whatever, go to canyouhandlebar.com. Use my promo code DNC Digital for 15% off. Everybody have a good day and take care of yourselves.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks.